Hello friends. This yoga sequence is made for tight hamstrings, tight hips. It's good if you're a cyclist, if you do any sort of activity with the lower body. If you're sitting a lot during maybe your office work, it might feel really good to partake in this practice. We're going to be using 2 blocks. They are not mandatory, they're just optional if you have them at home. If you don't, no big deal. We'll work around it. They're not mandatory for the practice. We're going to start in a standing position, so samastiti. Your feet are together or hip width apart. Your arms are by your sides. Palms are face open as a gesture that the body and the mind are open. Soften the eyes. Start to tune into your breath, letting everything else drop away. And we're intentionally trying to expand our breath here. So we're trying to draw longer inhales and release longer exhales than our normal day-to-day breathing. So as you inhale, think about drawing your air all the way down into the low belly and slowly squeezing all the air out, pulling your belly button in as you exhale. Continuing, finding your own pace. This is the foundation of your yoga practice, so making sure to feel that connection to the breath. Finding a slight squeeze of your glutes as you stand nice and tall. Energetically squeezing your kneecaps so you feel the front of the quads or thigh muscles activate. And you almost want to feel like you're pushing the pelvic floor forward, just slightly. So you're avoiding that scrunching in the low back. Let's find 3 sun salutations to begin. So a little bit of movement to warm up the body and the muscles. Following the pace of your breath. As you inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold, bend in the knees. Inhale, halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, folds. Plant the palms, step the feet back. I'm going to tap the knees down in my plank, but you're more than welcome to keep the knees lifted. Deep breath in. As you exhale, lower slowly to the mat. Keep the elbows hugged in. 1 baby cobra. Inhale, lift. Roll your shoulders back. Squeeze your glute muscles. Press into the tops of the feet. Exhale, soften. Curl the toes. Hands are by the rib cage. Press up to plank. Send the seat back, downward dog. 3 breaths here. In through the nose. Out through the nose. Press the palms into the ground to lift your hips up and back. Make your way to the top of the mat. Walk, hop, or step. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Rise up to your samastiti or standing. As you rise, squeeze your glutes gently. Palms come through to the heart. Anjali mudra or prayer position. Pause. How do you transition between poses? How is your breath? 2 more rounds. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Halfway lift, you lengthen. Fold forward. Find plank. 1 chaturanga. Inhale. As you exhale, you lower slowly with control. Yogi's choice. You can take a cobra Or you come into up dog. If you're coming into up dog, you're lifting everything off the mat except palms and tops of the feet. Exhale, send the seat back, downward dog. 3 expansive deep breaths here. You keep sending your hips back. Almost imagine someone's pressing their palms into your low back to send or gently push your hips back towards the back of the mat. You want that active feeling and engagement in the muscles as you hold your downward dog. Then make your way to the top of the mat, folding forward. On your inhale, you lengthen. Exhale, fold. Rise up to your standing or samastiti. Palms come through to the heart. Soften the gaze. Notice the heartbeat picking up, the muscles warming up. One more round, your movement, your breath. Inhale always brings you to lengthen in yoga. Exhale, fold. Find your plank, your variation. As you exhale, you lower slowly with control, a chance to strengthen the upper body. As you inhale, your heart opener, cobra or up dog, both options. We draw the shoulders back, squeeze your glutes slightly, and then send your seat back, finding downward dog. Checking in with your breath. 3 rounds of deep breathing. From here, step your right foot in between the hands, setting up for high lunge. When the legs feel stable, reach the arms up. Now, you can adjust yourself once you're up. We want the hips square, so there's a slight pull of your left hip forward. Micro bend in your back knee. Let's bring the palms to the heart. We're going to go for a twist here. Deep breath in. As you exhale, start to twist the body over to the right. Your hips are still square. You're just twisting through the waist. Then start to hook left elbow to the outside of your right knee. You can always tap your back knee down, of course. You're stacking right elbow on top of left. And instead of forcefully pressing your elbow into the thigh, think about your breath creating that space instead. So as you inhale, pull your navel in towards the belly, creating space in the body. And as you exhale, then you begin to twist. One more deep breath in here. Gently unhook your left elbow. Place the left palm down. We're gonna go for a nice quad twist. You can also use a block to rest your left palm on if you want to bring the ground to you. Also, if you have a large book at home, that works perfectly fine. We're going to draw our left heel in towards the glute. Reach for the top of the foot with the right hand. If this is too much in the body, you can keep the left foot down and just reach the right fingers back. So you're still twisting open. Slowly place that left foot down. Bring the right palm down. Perhaps you use 2 large books or 2 blocks so your hands can rest onto the blocks or books. Anjaneyasana, reach your arms up, pull your right hip back, left hip forward. So you're squaring the hips, deep breath in. As you exhale, hands come down. Half splits, pull your right hip back, flex the right foot so the toes are pointing up, and you start to walk your hands back slightly. We're folding over that right thigh, so we're bending into the right knee. And we're connecting the chest to the thighs. And then slowly walk it forward, bending in that front knee again, placing the foot down, curling the back toes, lifting the back knee. Warrior one, pin your left heel down, toes pivot out slightly. Once the legs feel stable, reach the arms up. And maybe you wobble. You want to make sure the hips are square to the front of the mat in Warrior One. So that's one main difference. So make sure that your left hip is not pulling open, but it's pulling forward. Bend in the front knee, arms are overhead perhaps, the palms tap together in prayer. Glue the outside edge of the left foot down. Deep breath in. Stay for the exhale. Inhale, pull or extend the right leg, the front leg. And then begin to fold forward, finding pyramid. Your hands can again land on blocks or large books. You can bend in your right knee however much you need in order to fold forward. Perhaps you even shorten your stance. This is a very deep stretch for the back of the body. So it's crucial to keep the connection to your breath, making sure you're taking those expansive breaths longer than your regular day-to-day breathing. And very slowly send left foot back, finding low lunge again. Slide the blocks off to the side. We're going to send our right foot back, high plank. Perhaps the knees tap down. We're going to slowly lower down to the mat. This time coming into our Sphinx. So we're going to bring right elbow underneath the right shoulder, left elbow underneath the left shoulder, palms face down. Now, in order to reduce any sensitivity you might be feeling in your low back, press your pubic bone down towards the mat. So you're literally pressing the pubic bone down and your low belly is lifting off the mat. So you're actually not touching the mat with your low belly. You're pulling the heart through, finding a nice upper back bend. Your glutes, aka your bum muscles, are slightly squeezing here. And then let's begin to lower the forehead down, palms come by the rib cage, curl the toes, send the seat up to downward dog. This time we're going to walk the hands back towards the feet, finding a forward fold at the back of our mat. We're going to pivot our toes to face out, heels draw in, feet are a little bit wider than hip width, and start to drop your seat down to your malasana or yogi squat. You can, of course, bring a block or a book underneath your sit bones if you want a little elevation, helping you lift upwards. Palms are going to come to the heart. Elbows are going to press into the knees to draw your hips open. Avoid rounding forward. We're drawing our tailbone, end of the spine down towards the mat and lengthening the rest up. Our hips are connected to the hamstrings and to low back pain. So by stretching out all of these areas, we're able to find a little bit more space than in the hamstrings, in tight legs. Slowly plant the palms, send your seat up, feet draw parallel to the top of the mat. Walk your palms forward, finding your downward dog. Send your hips up and back. Step your left foot in between the hands. Setting up for high lunge, opposite side, arms go up. Micro bend in that back knee. Think about tucking your tailbone end of the spine and drawing it down towards the ground. As your arms reach up, notice your rib cage. Can you tuck it under slightly so that you engage with the belly? Palms are going to come through to the heart. Deep breath in. As you exhale, start to twist the body open to the left. Remember, hips are facing the front still. You're just twisting through the waist. Hook right elbow to the outside of the left thigh. Left elbow stacks on top of right. Perhaps back knee taps down. Take a deep breath in. Pull your belly in towards the spine. So you're finding one of the locks in yoga. And then start to twist on your exhale. Doesn't matter if you twist deeply. Twist enough that you feel that you're moving with the breath and you're not forcing any type of stretch, any type of movement. If your back knee is lifted, gently tap it down now. Unhook your right elbow. Right palm comes down onto the mat or perhaps onto your book or block. We're going to go for our quad twist. You know both options. Either you draw your left heel in and reach, or right heel in and reach for the top of the foot with the left hand. You begin to twist through the spine while getting a nice deep stretch in the front of that right thigh, aka quad muscle. Or perhaps you leave the foot down and you just reach your left fingers back. Gently release. Plant both hands down, maybe onto the mat, maybe onto blocks. Let's find our Anjaneyasana. Arms go up. You square the hips. So now right hip is pulling forward, left hip is pulling back slightly. Deep breath in. As you exhale, plant the palms, half splits. Point the left toes up. Begin to fold over the left leg. Pull your belly in because we always want to engage our abdominal wall when we're folding forward. That's going to help ensure that we're not overdoing it. And you can keep your chin tucked in. Bend in your left knee however much is necessary. You should never feel pain when you're folding forward. No pinching. As you inhale, start to bend into the front knee. Find your low lunge. Setting up for warrior one. Back knee lifts. Right heel pins down. Toes pivot out slightly. Arms go up. Maybe you adjust your stance as you come up. You can send your right foot out a little wider. You want to make sure your right hip is pulling forward so your hips are square. Palms can connect overhead. Pull your belly in, tuck your rib cage. Breathe. Pyramid pose. Extend the front leg. Remember, keep a micro bend in the front knee and then begin to fold forward. A micro bend can be however much you need. You can bend a lot in that knee or a little. Just depends on how tight this side of the body is, how this feels within the left hamstring, the low back, the hip. This is a good place to let a sigh out. Let's take a deep breath in. Audible sigh out. Maybe you give the head a nice shake. Yes and no. And then start to slide your right foot back, finding low lunge. We're going to slide our left foot back, plank. Lower the knees. If you'd like, slowly bring the belly down. One Sphinx pose again. Elbows come underneath shoulders. We draw our pubic bone down, lift our low belly. Navel draws in towards the spine. You pull the heart through. It's an upper back bend. Tops of the feet are heavy. They're acting as your anchors. You're pressing that pubic bone down so that you can lengthen through the low back as you find your upper back bend. You can soften the forehead down, palms come by rib cage, curl the toes, downward dog. Walk your hands back, finding forward fold at the back of your mat. Malasana or yogi squat, heel toe, feet out, toes point out, heels draw in. Drop your seat down, palms come to the heart. One deep breath in. Slow breath out through the nose. Keep that nervous system relaxed as you practice. And then let's start to lift our seat. Toes draw forward. Walk yourself forward, landing in your downward dog. Pigeon pose, right side. Right knee comes behind the right wrist. Shin is diagonal across the mat. Back knee taps down. Top of the foot taps down. And here we have a tendency to lift our left hip because it's not the one that's drawing down, but we actually want both hips to draw down. So try to bring your left hip down as much as possible. You're trying to square the hips so all the pressure is not on your right hip. And then start to walk your hands forward. Perhaps you rest the forehead on a block, or you can make little fists or interlace the fingers. 3 breaths here. Start to plant your palms into the mat, curl the back toes, send the right foot back, downward dog. Perhaps you pedal the dog for a moment, walking the feet out. And then find your pigeon left side. Left knee comes behind the wrist, shin is diagonal, back knee taps down, pause. Can you draw your right hip down? Good, and then slowly start to melt your chest forward. Coming into a sleeping swan variation. Finding 3 breaths here. Perhaps you can let the eyebrows unfurrow, the cheekbones and the jaw to soften. We're gonna make our way up to downward dog, so curling the back toes, palms press into the mat to lift the chest. Slide your left foot back. 1 deep breath in. Open the mouth, stick the tongue out as you exhale. And bring the knees down onto the mat. We're gonna sit directly on the mat with our sit bones. Your feet are gonna come together, knees are gonna come wide so that you've landed in your butterfly. Hands can wrap around the ankles, perhaps your peace fingers or index fingers wrap around the big toes. Further your hips are away from the heels, the less intense it is. So make it about 80% effort, 20% breath. So you don't want to be forcing yourself into a pose. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, you slowly fold forward as much as you can while keeping the spine straight, pressing your sit bones down. It's not about folding deeply, it's about lengthening through your spine and opening through the hips. Let's slowly make our way out of butterfly, closing the legs together. You're going to be facing the back of your mat. Feet are pressed into the ground. Arms are reaching forward. Deep breath in. As you exhale, slowly start to lower until the back of the head is on the ground. We're going to bring our arms by our sides, setting up for bridge pose. Your heels should be close enough towards the body. As you inhale, slowly start to lift your hips. Squeeze your glutes. Can you find a little space in the front of the throat where your throat chakra lies? So gently draw the chin away. Next exhale, slowly lower down, one vertebra at a time. Tailbone's the last thing that taps down. Extend your legs. We're going to set up for one more back bend, upper back bend, fish pose. Arms are by your sides. What you're going to do is bend into the elbows to lift the back of the head. You're going to find a nice lift of your chest and then slowly tap the crown of your head down. Even if it doesn't come down all the way, you're simply finding a back bend in the upper portion of your back, so your cervical spine. The part that's probably the stiffest, I'd say, in most people, including myself. And we're using the support of the elbows to draw the upper body away from the mat, finding an opening through the throat. You should feel a nice deep sensation in between the shoulder blades in the upper back. And then slowly pick up the back of the head, draw your chin in, gently release, soften the head down. Plant the feet into the ground. Cross your right ankle over left knee. Right foot is flexed, so it's active. You can stay here, or perhaps you interlace the fingers behind the left thigh. Yoga is about finding that balance. So we're not just stretching out the right glute, but we're becoming and engaging with the muscles. So there is an engagement while releasing. So you're pulling your left thigh in towards the body while trying to draw the right knee away. So it's almost like a push and pull effect. And perhaps you're rocking side to side, massaging your low back. Noticing how this practice has felt in your body, how you feel mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Then start to let go of the left thigh, tap the left foot down, cross your right leg over the left, send the knees over to the left side. Extend your right arm. Doesn't matter if your knees tap down or not. You're trying to glue your right shoulder down towards the ground. So you're twisting through the spine, mainly through the thoracic spine, middle of the spine. A great way to quicken the digestive system. So you're actually massaging the internal organs, which helps the digestive system process the food a little bit quicker than usual. Breathing, of course. I'm trying to breathe past those shallow chest breaths and down into the belly. And then let's switch. Bring your knees back to center, uncross right leg. Both feet are on the mat to begin. You're going to cross your left leg, left ankle over right knee. Again, you can just stay here. Action of pulling the left knee away while energetically drawing your right leg in. Or perhaps you interlace the fingers behind the right thigh and you do that same push-pull effect. Coming into your twist, landing the right foot down, crossing left leg over right, dropping the knees over to the right, left arm extends. You bring the left shoulder down to grow heavy towards the mat. Even if it doesn't touch, it's the action of doing so. Eventually, over time, with practice, with connection to the breath, that shoulder will eventually come down. Bring the knees back to center. Uncross the left leg. We're going to set up for an inversion. I'm going to give you 3 options. I'm just going to take my clips out so that they don't bother me as I do this. Option 1, we're going to kick our legs up and we're going to imagine the legs are resting along a wall. You could even bring your low back close to a wall and then actually rest the legs up the wall. Option 2, you come into your shoulder stand. Press the palms down, bend in the elbows, lift the low back, and then your palms come to the low back. So you're actually bending into the elbows. That's your support structure to lift the body. And you're kicking your feet up. Try not to move your head in an inversion. You always want to keep your head still. Last option, you come into plow. One foot taps overhead, other foot taps overhead, and your palms press down in towards the mat. You can even bend in your knees to find ear pressure pose. And perhaps you do one leg at a time. If you're in plow, slowly come back to your shoulder stand, kicking the feet up. Everybody from shoulder stand will press their palms into the ground. Slowly lower your spine as mindfully as you can. So you're engaging with your core muscles. Your feet will tap down. Let's find one last movement. Kick your right leg up. Hands come behind the thigh and just start to roll the ankle out. If that's too much, you can point and flex the foot. And then right foot comes down, left leg goes up. You find your ankle rolls on this side. Resting that left foot down, coming into our final pose, Shavasana, corpse pose, extending the legs. Arms come by your sides, palms face up. Relax the toes, relax the fingers, relax the front of the hips. Your facial muscles, and completely let go of effort here. This is the one pose where there's no breath control, there's no engagement of the muscles. You're simply just letting yourself be. feeling that connection to the essence of yourself. Maybe you notice the sensation, the texture of the mat underneath you, the ground supporting you. And just rest here for a couple minutes of stillness. Anytime you feel that the mind is wandering, is getting distracted and really sucked into patterns of thoughts or to-do lists, it's okay, but just try to make a conscious effort to notice that. Notice what type of thoughts you became distracted by. And then anchor yourself again by refocusing on the breath. And doing that as many times as you need. If you want to stay longer in your meditation, pause the video. Otherwise, before you begin to move, take a moment to thank yourself for doing something just for your body, mind, and breath. For taking time out of your busy schedule to simply be with yourself. Begin to deepen your breath now. Invite any small movement into the body. You can stretch the body out. Nod the head no, left to right. Roll to the left side of your body, finding a fetal position. Use your top arm to lift yourself up. We're going to find a cross-legged position in the middle of our mat. Keeping your eyes closed for the last moment here. Perhaps there's an intention, something you'd like to remind yourself of, something you'd like to let go of, something you'd like to work towards. If there's an intention or mantra that you play with, then repeat that to yourself here. The more we weave these ideas and thoughts the more we purposefully direct ourselves towards what we're looking for. Bring the palms to the heart. Bow your chin in. Deep breath in. Cleansing breath out. Let's close on one chant of Om. Don't worry about how you sound. Nobody's around, I'm sure. It's more about connecting with the universe and creating this frequency in the body. When we chant Om, it actually resembles the 432 hertz, which is the hertz that was thought to be living in everything surrounding us. So just try it out. Deep breath in. Inhale. And exhale to bow. Namaste.